weekly check-in with TSN hockey insider Pierre LeBrun. And Pierre, we are just 2 weeks away from puck drop at the Four Nations face-off. And now we know that Auston Matthews has been given the green light to play in the tournament for Team USA. So how did the Leafs and Matthews come to this decision?
Yeah, I mean, it was always the plan from a Leafs perspective, from the Matthews camp perspective, and his agent, Judd Moldaver, and also from Team USA perspective, GM Bill Guerin, to meet around this time, 2 weeks out, to make sure everything was okay. It just so happens, by coincidence, that the Minnesota Wild were in Toronto on Wednesday night, so that made things, a little easier. So Bill Guerin meeting with Auston Matthews while he was in Toronto after the morning skate. And certainly just, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And Brad Treliving and Bill Guerin also have a conversation. Listen, there wouldn't have been that much said. Auston Matthews is healthy. He's back. And obviously wants to play for Team USA. And so, yeah, it's a done deal. He will play for Team USA. I will say, barring a setback, of course, because there was a setback earlier this year. But the way he's going right now is the best he's looked all season. I would also venture to guess, Jay, that part of that conversation between Bill Guerin and Auston Matthews may have had to do a bit with the leadership announcement that's coming on Thursday. And we don't know who's going to be Team USA captain, but some likely frontrunners include Matthew Tkachuk and Auston Matthews, among others. So whether it's Matthews or not, I'm sure that part of that conversation from Guerin would be, here's our plan on that. So almost there. 2 weeks to the day Thursday, Auston Matthews will line up for the first time in his career in a best-on-best event for his country.
One person who will not be there is Alex Pietrangelo, who pulled out of the tournament on Sunday. And we have already polled a couple of our analysts, Pierre, for their opinions on who should replace him. Mike Johnson, our mutual buddy, he thought it should be Mackenzie Weegar or Chris Tanev. Frankie Corrado actually threw out Aaron Ekblad's name. Who do you think will take that spot and represent Canada at the Four Nations?
As long as he can show that he's got his game back up to where it normally is, it's the guy who made a season debut on Wednesday night, and that's Drew Doughty. He's got the inside track. He's the guy that's obviously played in 2 Olympics for Team Canada. He's a gold medalist twice. But he has to show that he's back up to game speed, and that's not a slam dunk. I mean, I think Team Canada is going to watch his games attentively. I spoke with Team Canada GM Don Sweeney on Tuesday, and they said, of course, they're going to watch all of his games. And John Cooper, the head coach, will be in touch with Kings coaches. And, of course, Team Canada management will be in touch with Rob Blake. But it's not a slam dunk. He has to show that he's back, and he's only got, really a week and a half to do that. Don Sweeney said they'd like to get the replacement name ahead of all the players arriving, February 9th in Montreal. Their first practice is on the Monday morning, February 10th. So that's your time frame. If it's not Doughty, and again, I think he's the top choice, but if it's not him because of concern for his game right now after missing more than half the year, I think the next guy in line is Chris Tanev. I think that because of the kind of minutes that Pietrangelo was going to play, and one thing Don Sweeney told me Tuesday was that, yes, I mean, they're looking at the kind of role Pietrangelo would have had, and how do you replace that? Well, those are matchup minutes, shutdown minutes, penalty killing minutes, and in that context, Chris Tanev, I think, is an excellent choice, one of the best shutdown defensemen in the National Hockey League. They don't need more offense. Kel McCarr is going to play the entire power play pretty much. So in those games, so they don't need to add more offense on the back end. What they need is to try to find those grittier minutes, and that's why I think all those guys are potentials. And Don Sweeney did say, without naming names, there's still a group of guys they're looking at. But I think Doughty, Tanev, Weegar, Ekblad, all possibilities.
And Pierre, the fact that Pietrangelo dropped out of Team Canada on Sunday afternoon and then proceeded to play 24 minutes for the Las Vegas Golden Knights that evening led to our friend Brian Hayes asking a pretty legitimate question. Is this a real competition, the Four Nations face-off, or is it a glorified all-star game? You've talked to a lot of players over the past few months. What's your take?
Listen, it's not the Olympics, but I'm going to tell you this. I think you'll be surprised by the level of competitive juices in this event, because the players are treating it as, the appetizer before the Olympics. This is who we are. We're Team USA, we're Team Canada, Finland, Sweden. I think those players want to send a message. A lot of them, by the way, have never played best-on-best hockey. The last best-on-best event was 8.5 years ago, the World Cup in 2016 in Toronto. And so a lot of these players are out to make a statement for themselves. A lot of the players that I've spoken to that have already been named cannot wait and have absolutely taken this very, very seriously. I'll give you an example. I mean, John Cooper, the head coach for Team Canada, during his travels with the Lightning this season, has had one-on-one meetings with Sidney Crosby about Four Nations, one-on-one meetings with Connor McDavid. He took aside Sam Bennett and Sam Reinhart in Florida after a Bolts Lightning, a Lightning Panthers game earlier this year. The players are absolutely engaged. The thing is, Alex Pietrangelo legitimately, and Don Sweeney talked to me about this, Jay, has an ailment that he has to take care of during the Four Nations. Like, he's not 100%. I know what the optics are when he plays 24 minutes that same night. I get it. He's playing through it. But Don Sweeney says he respects, after having heard from Pietrangelo, he respects where that decision comes from.
Pierre, we have a great game on TSN2 Thursday night. The Wild will be in Minnesota, and it will likely be Marc-Andre Fleury's last time playing in his home province. You had a chance to speak to him on Wednesday about this game on Thursday night. What are his emotions heading into what might be his final game in La Belle Province?
Yeah, I mean, he's, I think he's a bit nervous. Obviously, he grew up a Habs fan, looked up to Patrick Roy, looked up, to that type of goaltending in terms of emulating what he wanted to be. Last year when Fleury was in Montreal, no one really knew what his future was. He got a pretty good, reaction from the Bell Center crowd, and he talked about that today. That meant a lot to him. He doesn't want to make a big deal of it because he's so humble, Jay, that he says he doesn't really know what to expect tomorrow night. But let's be real. I think that Bell Center crowd is really going to show him a lot of affection. And, he announced for the season this was his last year, and one of the things he said was that he's trying to soak it all in and appreciate every moment. But he also said, I can't believe how fast it's going. We're already in late January. And so I feel like he's saying, I can't believe, my career's about to end. But he's got over 100 people coming to the game Thursday night at the Bell Center, friends and family, and you name it. It's going to be pretty special for the Flower.
It's going to be a great game, and we're going to have it for you. Pierre LeBrun, always great to talk to you. We'll chat with you next week.
Right on, Jay.
And, of course, Pierre and everyone can watch the game on TSN2. Molson Canadiens hockey on TSN. Brian Mudryk will be on the call. Marc-Andre Fleury. It's going to be fun to watch. You got to tune in. Montreal's lost 3 straight. Let's see if they can snap that losing streak as well.